Okay, the first thing, back row. Stand up. Okay, seeing that group, those are the ones that are going to work for a company greater than 100 employees. That's it. Thanks. The next piece, 60% of you are going to work for a company with less than 4 people. We don't have a choice. We're going to have to be entrepreneurs. The most exciting thing here is that it's us, it's these small companies that are going to rip us out of this recession. And I can't emphasize enough that the money, the Wall Street money, the Toronto money, the venture money, it is supporting these small businesses. It's there. I will tell you, in the entrepreneurial community, it's electric right now. Key lessons, you got to know yourself. You got to build your team around you. Most entrepreneurs start with, they're used to leading from the front, right? And you hire your team up to back you up because you're throwing support and challenges over you, and you want to hire your team that can keep up with you. You can't run a business that way. You've got to figure out how you get from the front to the back and then steer it like a dog sled team. You can go twice as fast. But if you're ahead all the time, you can't grow your company. You can't scale. It's all on your shoulders, and when you tire, your company tires. So I want to talk a little bit about that, but the most important thing, stay in cash. Everyone sees these charts, you know, up and to the right, and they always imply income. This isn't income, okay? This is learning. This is the experience. I've recently grabbed hold of a company called HGI. I'll tell you, it is the absolute culmination of everything I've learned on this. It is the most exciting thing I've ever done because it knits all the different pieces of your career together. And I strongly recommend everyone's got these diverse pieces that you think are failures, but they're not, they're just experiences. I got told once by a founder who said, if I had a choice between turning the reins of my company over to a brilliant businessman who'd never failed, or turning it over to a smart businessman or woman who had failed, I'd take the one who failed every time. Because the brilliant one doesn't see it coming, right? And you got to know when to fold. So the thing on know yourself, the health and spirituality, this is really important. Like, these are the prep things to get started with. It's all about, do you have that fifth gear? You know, do you have that ability when things get tough? Does it weigh you down or does it turn you on? And if it turns you on, right, then you got that fifth gear is going to allow you to push over. Right? If this tires you, then you don't necessarily want to be going into the unknown that way. If you're not getting energy that way. Spirituality, I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about your inner belief that it'll work out. You know, that you've got that strength inside, that you believe you'll be okay. Because fear will sharpen you. And I'm going to talk a little bit, the go east at the bottom. Everybody, I know, we're in the West, and come on, West, but go east basically is saying you don't follow the sun. Okay, when you see the sun, you don't follow it. Go where it's going to show up. Okay, it's going to show up in the east. You want to be there. You don't want to be chasing it. But it's scary going that way, right? Because it's the dark way. You don't see anything. And there's no traffic going that way, right? But that's where the plays are. I find in business today, finance is so important. It's the language of business, but they make the language so confusing, right? They make it so intimidating that you don't want to learn it. And we scare away from it. And that's crap, right? It's so simple. And if you break down that language such that it's now just a business, Right? The specialized stuff, great. Yeah, you need specialized financial guys, but we all need to understand that language of finance. So that's something it's really important to break down, because the fear will stop you from going into deal with businesses, deal with Wall Street, deal with people with money. That one everyone has to understand it. Networking. I'm a huge proponent of networking. I force myself every week to write or set up 10 appointments with people I haven't seen in 6 months or don't know. It is scary, it is hard, it takes 30 phone calls, and every time you reach out, the person will thank you for calling them. It's not that, you're not asking anything, you're just asking for their time. And those conversations keeps you fresh. It gives you ideas and passion, and it's only over a coffee. Don't do lunches, they take too long, right? Because you might not like the person you're with. Family. It's really important to be stable at home on that. I'll never forget the argument I had with my wife once, saying, you have no idea of the pressure I'm going through, the ups and downs. I know I'm working 18 hours a day, but you have no idea. And she goes, you're right. I can see that you're on a roller coaster. You should try it from the back. And I just remember thinking, oh God, that's so true. So you really do need to make sure that your family's ready for where you're going and what you're trying to do. Now, the leadership style is all about knowing how do you like to communicate, how do you like to lead. Okay, entrepreneur. Would you say those are the typical characteristics we associate with an entrepreneur? These are the characteristics that certainly are the documented ones. I'd put you, though, these are the ones that are really important, right? Nonconformist. They tend to be positive, okay? They tend to see all the problems as the upsides, right? And they're grinders, you know, as you said, committed. They'll get a hold of something, and they'll work it until they're exhausted. And somebody needs to grab them by the back of the neck sometime and pull them off it, right? Because they don't see failure. Every obstacle, they'll just keep grinding through it. They define themselves through accomplishments. A true entrepreneur strives to achieve, and once they've achieved, they try to achieve again. When we took Contour public, that was a home run, right? That was a very, very big deal. If you asked me after that, day after, wow, were you ever good? I go, are you crazy? I was lucky, right? We sold it a month before the dot-com crash, right? That was straight luck. Then when I had a failure, that wasn't luck, that was me, right? That wasn't bad luck. I failed. So then the next venture, think of where my mind was at. When I succeeded, I was lucky. When I failed, it was my fault. You got to be careful. You have to get those ghosts lined up and figured out. But I do know it's not about becoming rich for me. It's about achieving, right? That's the big one. Start with the end in mind. And I'm getting close to wrapping here. I always try to never fall in love with the company. Right? I always try to figure out how am I going to get out of this thing. Because if I can't get out, then the people don't want to invest in me. Because how do I get them out? So it's really important to keep in mind why big companies buy you, and then actually design your actions to hit this. Right? Whether it's they want to sell to your customers, whether they want to take your products and sell to their customers, whether they want to pull you out because of you're a competitive threat or a disruptive technology. They want to get your employees. Right? They're all good. Just make sure that you're consciously aware of what bait you're putting on the hook for these guys, because it's not good to get taken out when you're not ready. Last thing is making it happen. It is really, really important on the execution. I know Edit is here from one of the classes, and we talked about this red paperclip. Has anyone ever heard of this red paperclip? Okay, red paperclip. Very brief, there's a guy from, where is he from? Saskatchewan? he basically made a statement, I'm going to start trading online. I'm going to start with a red paperclip. And in 1 year, I'm going to trade it up to a house. And he did it, right? It's a great story. But you got to have passion, knowledge, and you've got to have the aptitude for this type of business. Figure out how to get started, right? There's different levels of risk to get into this thing. I will tell you, partnerships are easy to get into. They're almost always ugly to get out of, right? So really think about the end in that case. And then the next steps. I strongly advise get some training in the field you want to get into. Like if you've got an idea you want to be in the book business, go work for a bookstore. Look for the gaps when you're there. Jumping into a new industry without knowing it, it's a lot of work. And even though I know that a lot of the students I'm working with, the business plan is a pain to do. I will tell you, I do business plans every time I get involved in a company. No one reads them, right? But it's the exercise of going through it, that you think it through. Okay, well, thank you very much. Really appreciate your time.